on this episode of the Sorority Chat podcast.
Again, back to the values and what does that look like? I think one of the things that CEOs do really well is they get people on board with the values of the organization, and they're able to not sell it, but they're able to just allow people to buy into the vision. And so part of what I see young people not being able to do really well is to communicate their value in an organization.
Hey y'all, and welcome to Sorority Chat. I'm Liz Toombs, a designer and sorority alum who's obsessed with all things Greek life. My mission? To bring you real conversations, smart insights, and fun stories that help make sorority living even better. So grab your favorite beverage, get comfy, and let's chat. Welcome back to Sorority Chat. Today's guest is the powerhouse behind Be More Consulting, Colene Elridge. Affectionately known as Coach Colleen, she is a dynamic leadership coach, speaker, and my personal friend. Colleen is the author of the inspiring book, Monday Morning Pep Talks, and she shares weekly editions on Instagram of Random Wednesday Thoughts. Whether you're navigating college life or climbing the career ladder, Coach Colleen's insights are going to inspire you. Hey, Colleen.
Hey, Liz.
Welcome to the show.
So excited to be here.
Excited to have you and chat and let everybody see into your fabulous life and hear your story.
Yeah.
So let's start at the beginning. You started Be More Consulting after a pretty good career in HR. And so I would love to hear that story and for you to share what led you to that point and all the good details.
Yeah. So I went to a small liberal arts college. I always want to tell people I was an anthropology major. I majored in cultural anthropology because most people are like, you did what now? And
right.
How did you end up here? But I really loved it because it taught me to appreciate different perspectives and different cultures. And my senior year of college, I ended up getting an internship in state government. And I often joke it was a little bit of nepotism because the man who was the cabinet secretary was also a transy grad. And so he picked me to come and do this internship. And I worked in the learning and development area of state government. And it was such an eye-opening experience for me because I got to see people get paid to speak for a living. Which
like a dream.
My dream come true, right?
Yep.
Liz, you and I are very much alike. I've never met a stranger. I'm going to talk to everyone. I was the kid that got C's in conduct in elementary school for talking too much. So it just kind of opened my eyes to this possibility of doing something different. And so during that internship, I learned all about adult learning principles and how adults learn differently than kids and how do we put together a program or a curriculum or a training. And before I finished that internship, they offered me a full-time job. I did that for a couple of years and then moved over to the state EEO and diversity office. While I was there, I was tasked to create some trainings on harassment prevention or how to create more inclusive workplaces, or even one of my favorite topics is generational differences in the workplace, which is huge, right? And so I was doing that, and then several years into that, the governor's office reached out and said, we have this leadership development program that we've had since 1996. We need someone to revamp it. Would you be interested in doing that? And I spent 6 months doing research and revamping it. And we started running this program and we won these national awards for this program. And we had this success rate where 82% of the people that went through the program were promoted within 15 months after graduation.
Wow.
And so, so I was like, man, this feels great. I love that I'm getting to help people develop new skills. But what I really, really loved was getting to see the individual's confidence increase as they completed the program.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of lit a spark in me. And that was kind of the catalyst for me learning more about coaching, me learning more about professional development. And that's the beginnings of how we ended up here.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's really cool. Like to have that success story that then was sort of the springboard to get you to here and running your own business. When you were talking about generational differences in the workplace, it brought to mind a lot of times what I see in my work, because I'm working with alumni of a chapter, active members of a chapter, folks at headquarters. And so there's a variety of generations represented when it comes to decision making for these houses. So do you have any, what's your top tip for folks that are working in a blended environment like that on how to work together and collaborate with other generations?
Yeah, I always think my top tip is just get to know the person, because it's really easy to generalize people based off of their generations.
Fair.
But there are so many factors that go into that, right? Like if you could be a millennial and have been raised by older parents, and that's going to shift how you view being a millennial, right? And so my number one tip is really just to get to know the person or the people that you're working with, and not just try to stereotype them based off of what generation they're in.
Yeah, I like that. That seems like common sense advice, but I think it's something that often gets forgotten and lost in the shuffle. So I'm glad that you highlighted that for people, because it's a simple but really effective thing to keep in mind.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I was introducing you, I talked about your book, Monday Morning Pep Talks. I have the book. I still subscribe to your weekly emails because you share daily doses of motivation. What is one pep talk that seems to have resonated the most with your readers?
I wrote one several years ago about looking for the miracle in hard things.
Oh.
And the thing that kind of prompted that is a good friend of mine's father was in an accident, was in a hospital for a long time, ended up passing away. And this whole week we were all praying for a miracle. And I had this really overwhelming moment where I looked around this waiting room, and there were all of these people that were friends with her mom, that were bringing food and comfort items, that were praying for them, that were just doing all these things. And I had this moment where I was like, this is the miracle, right? And so I wrote a pep talk about how the miracle may not be what you expect it to be, but if you look around, you can kind of see this miracle in a different way. And people still send me emails about that pep talk.
Oh, wow. So that was a big one with folks then.
Yeah. Yeah.
That gives me goosebumps. That's a really sweet story. Which then, on a funny note, I start thinking about your random Wednesday thoughts. And do you ever look for the miracle in your random husband purchases when Robert comes home with random items?
Yeah. So for those of you all that don't read the Random Wednesday Thoughts, one of the things that people really love about them is back during COVID, my husband would just start buying these random things, and he would come home with a 25-pound bag of rice or a 25-pound bag of beans, and it would be the most random things, and I've started sharing them, and so people love these things. And yeah, I'm always looking for the miracle, and well, what are we doing with a case of Staples?
How many of these random purchases have actually been put to use to date? Do you have a record?
I would say, Liz, I know he's going to listen to this and he will probably try to dispute it, but I would say on average, maybe 20%.
Okay. I mean, that's not terrible.
Yeah. He's got big goals and big aspirations for things, but sometimes it's the follow through on some of those things.
Oh, that's amazing. I will look for trolling comments when we post this episode from Robert on his defense. Well, so that was just a funny aside, but because I just read one of your random thoughts yesterday, and so it was fresh on my brain. Yeah. But kind of coming back to more applicable topics for college students or recent grads. Do you have some practical steps that you would give them that where they can start leading with confidence, both in their personal life and their professional life as they're starting to go out on their own?
Yeah, I think, one of the things that I see across the board with people is getting really clear on what your values are as a person and as a leader. And I think this is so important because sometimes when I do this values exercise with people, I give them a list of like 120 values. And I'm like, cool, so which one of these is you? And the problem is all of them sound good, right?
Yeah.
It's like all of them sound good. I want to be all of these things. But if you want to be all of these things, then you're not being anything at all.
Yeah.
So getting really, really clear on what are like your top 3 values for who you are as a person, who you want to be as a leader, what do you want to be known for? Define those values for yourself. So I always say, if fierce is one of my values, do I mean fierce like Beyonce and Sasha Fierce?
Yes.
Or do I mean fierce like Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
Oh,
right?
Yeah, fair. Okay. Also, yes.
Right. And so you really have to decide for yourself, what are the values that I have? What do they mean to me? And how do I want them to show up in my daily life? And so the clarity that you can have on that, number one, it helps you show up better. It helps you make decisions better. It kind of gives you these guardrails of like, we don't do these things versus we do these things. So that is one of the biggest things that I think anyone listening, that's one of the simplest, biggest, easiest wins that you can do, is just to find your top 3 values. That way it's clear, it's memorable. You're not trying to think of 10 things that define who you are.
Yeah.
You're just like, this is who I am in a nutshell.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I know it can be hard, like you said, when there's this massive list, or it can almost be even harder if you're just conjuring up these words and these values from nothing in your mind. We had a previous guest, Ethan Braden from Texas A&M, and he recommended that folks ask other people like what they admire in them or what they see in them. And then that almost helps you to even understand more what your values are and like what you're projecting out into the world. And like, oh, if you don't like that, then okay, you can adjust. Or if you do like it, then great. Like that's what you own and keep going forward with, you know?
Yeah. And I love that. And I usually have clients do that too. Like I have them come up with their list and then have them reach out to 5 people and say, how would you describe me? What are the words you would use to describe me? So I love that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that you can get so much insight from that because you can see yourself one way and then, but it helps to also understand how other people see you too and just what your whole picture is.
Yeah. And it's funny, Liz, I teach a workshop several years ago when I was working in government. I was an investigator of harassment and discrimination complaints, which was just very interesting and very eye-opening. But we would have sometimes people that would call pretty regularly. And I remember one day I was like, do you ever just want to say, like, maybe it's you? Like, you've worked at 5 different places and you've called from all 5 of these different places. Like, I don't know, maybe it's you. And so I created this workshop called Maybe It's Me, And part of that is just about having a level of self-awareness of who you are, what are some of the things that trigger you to not be your best self, how do you show up in certain ways when you are stressed, what are you doing or what are you not doing? But that level of self-awareness, I think, takes people so far.
That's all I could think about as you were starting to talk was just self-awareness and the lack of self-awareness. And, just it can be hard and it can be uncomfortable to take a hard look. But then you have the opportunity to change it and make things whatever you want them to be. So there's so much value in self-awareness. I wish more people would get in there and do that. But
I agree.
It did. It just made me laugh when you said maybe it's you because, sometimes it is just you, right? So you have talked a lot at different times about treating yourself like as the CEO of your life and coaching people on that. So how can young women adopt this mindset early in their careers and their like young professional life?
Yeah. So again, one, back to the values and what does that look like? I think one of the things that CEOs do really well is they get people on board with the values of the organization, and they're able to not sell it, but they're able to just allow people to buy into the vision. And so part of what I see young people not being able to do really well is to communicate their value in an organization. And so I think it's one thing, people will come to me often and say, I want to ask for a raise. What can I do to ask for a raise? Well, one of the big things is, can you articulate the value that you're bringing to this organization? What have you done beyond the scope of your job? What have you done, right? And if you're not able to articulate that, that's a problem. So to be able to communicate who you are and the value that you bring, I think that's a huge win, especially for younger people in workplaces. The other big thing is the ability and willingness to learn. You're not going to know everything. I don't care how long you've been there, you're still not going to know everything. And so be open to learning, be open to being coached and getting feedback and taking that feedback and doing something with it. I always think, don't take the feedback personally, but take it personally, right? So like, don't internalize it, but be willing to hear it and then behave differently in accordance to that feedback. And so those would, I think, are one of the top two things. And then also just being clear on the direction you want to go in. Like, I looked at my boss at one point and thought, I don't want to, that's not what I really want to do, you know? I don't want to sit in meetings all day with government officials. That's not fun. And so I think just being really, really clear on what is the role that I see myself in, what type of task do I like doing, what type of task do I not like doing. Just allowing yourself to explore different options, that way you can get clarity.
Yeah, I think it ties back into the self-awareness too. The more self-aware you are, the easier it is to get clear and so on and so forth. And I love that you said that about what type of tasks do I like, what don't I like. I'm always examining that as like the owner of my company. And like, you know, when you start out, you get this as a solopreneur, you're doing everything.
All the things,
and you need to know everything. And then as you start to progress, like time becomes more limited and it's like, okay, I need to see what do I like doing and what don't I like doing, and then who can help me with what I don't like doing, who's better at it than I am, and then kind of like farm it out and delegate it.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in action breeds clarity.
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to do something and try something to know whether or not you're going to like it or not.
I agree. I think I talk about this a lot too. Like, I find that internships are so important for that because you run the risk of going all the way through your schooling and thinking you're going to go do something and you're going to like it. And then if you get there and you don't like it, well, crap, I've spent all this money and all this time, and now I have to go back to square one or be miserable in my work.
Absolutely. And that's why I was so thankful for the internship that I had.
Yeah.
It really opened my eyes up to a lot of possibility and things that I didn't like. So yeah, 1,000%.
I just, all that experience, like it's so helpful for you. Even part-time jobs, it doesn't even have to be an internship, right? Just dabbling in things and trying out all kinds of things and seeing what you like. So kind of shifting gears, we have talked a lot about your social media, and I wanted to make sure that we talked some about just sort of social media in general, because I think it can be both empowering, but also very overwhelming, especially to younger women. And so how do you advise that folks navigate having an authentic online presence, but also not necessarily being controlled or solely driven by that?
Yeah. So, you know, back when I worked in HR, I did a lot of interviews for positions. I was on interview panels. I led interview panels. And that was always such a fine line of what's okay and what's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my number one rule is, if this was on the front page of the paper, would you want your parents to see it?
Ooh.
And that was always my rule with emails too. Like when I would do training on harassment prevention, if this ended up on the front page of the paper, would you be okay with it? Would you be okay with everyone seeing it, right? And I think that's such an easy way to think about what you're posting and what you're not posting.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I'm always thinking, am I creating noise? Am I contributing to the noise online? Or am I creating a space for information, or for, my main purpose is to provide light in the world and to be a place where people feel like they are uplifted and not have to think about everything going on in the world. And so just thinking about, who do you want to be online, and am I okay with people seeing this, especially in the comment section?
Yeah. Because you're talking about comments, you're talking about emails. It's real easy to hide behind that computer, but if it's on the front page of the paper, you may not feel the same way about being so cavalier with what you're saying.
Exactly.
I really love that, though. Am I creating noise? Like, it makes me even just sort of sit back and assess my personal and professional socials and like, ooh, would I want to change anything or change, I don't know, just switch it up a little bit. So kind of jumping back to internships, on that same vein, I consider mentorship something that's super important. I do a lot of mentoring. I feel like I was mentored a lot and probably still am in some like unofficial ways. So I just think it's super crucial as a part of like maturing and growing up and having experiences. So what advice do you have for young women that are seeking mentors and how they could make the most of a relationship like that?
So I have several great mentors, and one of them I worked with when I worked in government, and she was a commissioner, which is kind of like being a director in a company. And I remember watching her for several months, and she always looked like she was having so much fun doing her job. And I thought, how do you do that? How do you love what you do, have fun doing it, and still get stuff done? And so I remember I put together this list, and I asked if we could have a meeting, and I said, I'm looking for a mentor. Here's why I would love for you to be my mentor. Here's what I'm looking for, and would you be willing to meet with me maybe once a month in order to be my mentor? She was like honored that I asked her, and that was, I don't know, at this point, probably 18 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And she is still a mentor to me. And every December we get together for a baking day at her house,
Oh.
And so I think just being like looking at people that look like how you want to be, and her being fun was a big part of that. Fun is one of my core values. And so to be able to see someone that was behaving in a way that really exemplified how I wanted to be able to show up, I think just watching people, who's doing things a certain way, who is saying things a certain way, how are they showing up, how do people think about them, how are people talking about them, and having the courage to ask, would you be my mentor, and here's what I'm looking for. I think that's what she really appreciated, was I was clear on what I was looking for and how much time I was going to need from her.
Yeah, because when you ask something of someone, those are the things in the back of their mind. They're probably more than willing to help you, but they want to understand, like, how much is it that you need from them? What are they committing to before they say anything? So I'm not surprised at all that you were that prepared and lined it out for her.
Yeah, that's me. If I'm gonna like spend your time, I'm going to make sure it's worth your time.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. I appreciate that. As you know, all of our time is precious and there's a lot of things pulling for it. I'm curious, you said fun is one of your core values. Like, how do you make that show up or see that showing up in your daily life?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things is every day at 2:00, I have an alarm on my phone that goes off that says, "Have you had fun today?"
Oh.
And I love that because you know that some days you're sitting at your desk and your head is down and you're typing emails and you're doing all the not fun stuff. And for me, I had this moment several years ago where I was like, if fun is one of my core values, how do I do this every day? How do I make sure that I live this value every day?
Yeah.
So at 2:00, have you had fun pops up. And if I haven't had fun, I try to pause if I can and do something fun. Now, people hear that and they think, so you just have a big party at 2:00? No. But I might call a friend at 2:00, or I might watch a funny video at 2:00, or I might put on some Beyonce at 2:00, and I'm going to do something fun to make sure that I'm living the value that I say I want to live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. But they can be simple things. It doesn't always have to be a big party, like you said.
Yeah.
I like that. I know a lot of times I've heard you talk about you're like a connoisseur of gummy bears or super passionate about gummy bears. Do they qualify as fun for you?
1,000%. Having a handful of gummy bears is the quickest, easiest way to have fun.
Is there a superior brand of gummy bears?
The only brand that I think really matters is Albanese.
Okay.
They're the best. They're soft, they're chewy, they have good flavor. Yeah, they're just the best. And I've been to the factory several times. It's like walking into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's amazing. Yes.
That's really cool. Where is the factory?
It is right outside of Chicago.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome place to be.
Oh, that sounds so fun. I'll have to make a trek over there next time I'm in the Chicago area.
Yes.
Speaking of travel, I know you don't just have workshops here in the US, like you've had them in other countries, I think like Mexico and even the UK. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah. That part has been really fun. And I'm playing this game right now, Liz. So one of my big life philosophies is create what you wish existed. And if I can go back to college for a second, I was an anthropology major. I was the first anthropology major at my college. And they had the classes, they had the minor, and I thought, I want to major in this. And so I worked with the professor, created the major. At 18 years old, went in front of the board of trustees to present the major and got it approved as a full-time major. The same thing happened with my conference. I wanted to create this conference. I just believed that this idea of creating what you wish existed is one of the easiest ways to think about what should I do? What do you wish existed? Do the work to create it.
Again, I love how you make that so simple and easy to remember, and it's still very actionable. I also think it's worth noting you talked about going in front of the Board of Trustees. Don't you now sit on the Board of Trustees at Transylvania University?
Yeah, so I'm on the Board of Regents, so there's two different boards there. But yeah, that part does feel like very full circle for me.
Yeah.
That now I sit on a board there, and I just wrapped up chairing the board there.
Okay.
That, not too long ago, it felt like such a far away thing.
That's so cool, though. And you're right. Very full circle. Something to be proud of.
Yes.
So what's next? What's next for Coach Colleen? Any cool projects coming up?
Yeah, so we're going to do Volume 2 of Monday Morning Pep Talks is going to come out later this year.
Awesome.
Which I'm very excited about. I did a conference a few years ago called Empower Her Conference. We did it for 2 years.
Yes.
And Liz, my favorite picture of you ever
It's from that conference?
It's from this conference.
Were we throwing confetti or what was I doing?
You just had the biggest smile on your face. And, you know, you and I have known each other for so long at this point, but like that picture like made me feel, I don't even know what you were smiling about, but I was just like, she is such a good friend because you were like, I could tell you were just so excited for me because the picture was right when the conference was starting. And I love that picture of you. It's just like such a great picture. So anyway, that conference started a few years ago. We took a break. It's going to come back in a different iteration with a different name that I'm really excited about.
Okay.
So we'll be doing that in the fall as well.
Well, that's super exciting. And so is that a virtual conference or an in-person event?
It will be in person.
Okay. Located where?
It'll be in Lexington, back in Lexington. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I hope that maybe I can come and be a part of it because I did love being a part of that first one. And you're right. I was very proud of you. I always remember you came out in that beautiful yellow outfit. I think Beyonce was playing. Like there was just a really cool vibe and it was just a really impactful day.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that was such a fun day for me too.
Well, good. So if folks want to learn more about the conference or the book or just connect with you in general, what are the best ways for them to do that?
So one of the best ways is to sign up for the Monday morning pep talks. It is completely free and you get a fun little pep talk every Monday. And you can do that by very easily texting the words be more, BEMORE, to the number 66866. So 26826. And that's probably the easiest way, but you can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Those are just Coach Colleen. And then on LinkedIn, I'm under my actual birth name, Colleen Elridge.
Awesome. Well, we will share all of those links and that information in the show notes so that people can click through and connect with you. But thank you so much for joining us, Colleen. I, again, appreciate all the simple, actionable advice that you gave. And I know people are going to walk away better for listening.
Thanks, Liz. It's so good to see you and thanks for having me.
Welcome to Liz's House Hot Takes. This is where I take the lessons I've learned over the last 16 years of designing Greek houses and offer you my pro tip.
Here's today's house hot take. Create a signature scent without open flame. Most sorority houses cannot have candles because fire codes are serious. But that doesn't mean your house has to smell like a combination of Febreze and leftovers. Invest in plug-in diffusers, essential oil wall units, or fabric-safe room sprays in a consistent scent. Things like citrus, vanilla, or clean linen are universally enjoyed. When your house smells amazing and familiar every time someone walks in, that is branding that you can't see, but you feel.
Thanks for listening to another House Hot Take. For more inspiration, check out the PDR Interiors Instagram or TikTok. I'm Liz Toombs, and this is the Sorority Chat podcast. Catch you next time.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're listening on a podcast platform, make sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you got something out of today's conversation, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review. It helps us reach more listeners just like you. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to check out this video right here or this one over here. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. On that note, I'm Liz Toombs with Sorority Chat, and I'll see you on the next one. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry for Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Liz Toombs.